All right, so get this. We're diving deep today into Saudi Arabia's Neom project.
Neom.
Yeah, this futuristic mega city
Yeah.
that they are building in the desert.
In the desert.
I mean, what? Our source material is a YouTube video by Johnny Harris,
Okay.
who was actually on the ground there exploring the construction
Wow.
and also the traditional Bedouin culture that's sort of nearby.
Oh, wow. That's a clash of worlds, right?
Yeah, talk about a clash of worlds.
Yeah, you have this like ultra modern vision.
Right.
And then like right next to it, the ancient traditions of the Bedouin people.
Well, and it's also interesting too because like this project is, I mean, estimated to cost $1 trillion.
Oh, wow.
Which I feel like speaks volumes
Yeah.
about Saudi Arabia's sort of determination to reinvent themselves.
I mean, you have the huge gamble, right?
Yeah.
This idea.
So Harris was driving for like miles and miles and miles.
Uh-huh.
And it was just endless construction as far as the eye could see.
Wow.
They're building, like, there's Oxagon, which is this floating industrial city.
I've heard of that.
There's Sindala, which is this luxury island that's, meant to rival Dubai. And then there's even Trojena,
Okay.
which is a mountain resort with skiing
With skiing.
in the desert.
It's wild, right? It's almost like they're
It's crazy.
trying to like defy nature itself.
Yeah, defy nature, exactly.
But you have to, I mean, you have to think about it like their entire economy is built on oil.
Right.
And the world is very clearly shifting away from fossil fuels.
Right.
So this, I mean, it makes sense in a way.
This audacious move.
The very, very audacious move to try to do something completely different.
Right. So it's like their attempt to diversify.
Yeah.
To become, a global hub for
Yeah.
tourism and technology and even sustainable energy.
Right. And I think, yeah, so it's less about the wow factor.
Right.
And more about like a strategic play for their future.
Like a calculated risk.
A calculated risk for sure.
So it's less about building a city and more about building a new economic engine.
Exactly.
Which leads to the question,
Yeah.
will it work?
Will it work?
Can they really pull this off,
Yeah.
They're talking about the line, which is this 170-kilometer long
170 kilometers.
linear city with like mirrored walls.
It's hard to even imagine.
Yeah. Will people actually want to live in this like manufactured oasis?
Yeah, that's the $1 trillion question, right?
Right.
The line, if successful, could completely revolutionize urban living.
Right.
As we know it. I mean, imagine
Yeah.
a city designed to minimize its environmental impact.
Yeah.
Where all the essential services
Yeah.
are within a 5-minute walk. They're talking autonomous vehicles, vertical farming, and a completely car-free environment.
Wow.
It's crazy.
It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It really is.
Yeah.
But beneath all the glitz and glam, I think there are some deeper implications.
Right. Well, and yeah, so like what does this
Yeah.
mean for the existing Bedouin communities?
Yeah, exactly.
Who have called this desert home for centuries.
Right.
Harris spent some time with a Bedouin family and got to experience their nomadic lifestyle.
Oh, wow.
And sort of like their connection to the land.
Yeah.
And it's such a stark contrast to like the hyper modernity of Neom.
Right.
Right. And, and then it's not just about preserving a way of life.
Yeah,
It's about basic human rights.
absolutely.
Harris mentions this really tragic story of Abdul Rahim al-Huwari, who dared to criticize the government's handling of the project
Oh, wow.
and was killed.
Oh, my God.
So it raises all these really, really serious concerns about the cost of progress.
It does. I mean, the potential economic benefits and technological advancements are undeniable.
Yeah.
But we can't ignore the human costs.
Right.
The displacement of communities,
Yeah.
the potential for exploitation, and the suppression of dissent.
Yeah.
All very real concerns.
So how do you balance progress with protecting people?
Yeah. How do you do that?
And can a country with such a strict social structure
Right.
really attract the global talent and investment
Yeah.
that they need to make Neom a success?
That's a lot of questions, right?
Yeah.
A lot of really big questions.
Yeah.
And I think this project, with this bold vision and the potential for disruption, forces us to examine what kind of future we're building.
Yeah. So we've got oil wealth.
Uh-huh.
We've got futuristic cities.
Yep.
And a clash of cultures. I mean, where do we go from here?
Let's start digging deeper into some of the specific challenges and opportunities that Neom presents.
Right.
Starting with just like the practicalities of building a city of this magnitude in the middle of the desert.
I'm all ears.
Okay, good.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've established that Neom is this like mind-blowing project with like these grand ambitions. But let's get real for a second. Building a megacity in the desert has got to come with some serious challenges.
Yeah.
Where do you even start with something like this?
It's like a logistical puzzle, right?
Yeah.
On a massive, massive scale.
Yeah.
I mean, let's start with like the most basic necessity. Water.
Right. Yeah.
The desert environment is notoriously arid.
Yeah.
How are they going to sustain a population of millions in a place where water is so scarce?
That's a really good point. And actually, you know, Harris's video didn't really go into specifics. But I mean, you've got to think that desalination has got to play a huge role.
Yeah, for sure.
They're right on the Red Sea.
Right.
So they have access to seawater.
Right.
But desalination requires a ton of energy.
A ton.
Which leads us to like the next hurdle. How are they going to power a city of this size, especially if they're aiming to be sustainable?
Right, right. It's a bit of a catch-22.
Yeah.
Because building a sustainable city requires a massive upfront investment in energy-intensive construction.
Right.
I mean, even with their plans for solar and wind power.
Yeah.
I mean, the energy demands of a city like Neom
have got to be astronomical.
Astronomical.
Think about like all the transportation systems, all of the climate control that they're going to need to make the desert livable.
Right.
The manufacturing plants that they're talking about in Oxagon.
All of that.
It makes you wonder if the construction itself might actually undermine their sustainability goals.
Yeah, that's a valid concern, I think.
Yeah.
And it highlights the need for transparency and rigorous assessment. You know, they need to not only invest in renewable energy sources, but they also need to really prioritize energy efficiency in like every aspect of the city's design.
Yeah, okay, so speaking of design, Harris touched upon the line a little bit, that 170-kilometer linear city, but didn't really delve into the specifics. Can you shed some light on like what actually makes this concept so unique?
Yeah, I mean, so the line is really fascinating from like an urban planning perspective.
Okay.
Imagine a city that's built on a vertical axis with no cars, no streets, just layers of interconnected communities, parks, and infrastructure.
So everything's stacked.
Everything's stacked, and they're claiming that everything you would need, homes, schools, workspaces, entertainment, will be within a 5-minute walk.
Oh, wow.
Which is...
Sounds like a utopian vision of urban living.
It does, right. But it also raises a lot of questions like how do you ensure the efficient movement of goods and services? What about emergency response? And can you really like create a sense of community in like a structure that is essentially a continuous vertical corridor?
It's so interesting. It's like, you know, a lot of uncharted territory, both technologically and socially.
Precisely,
And that's before we even consider like the environmental impact, right?
Right.
Building a city of this scale, even with the best intentions, has got to have a footprint.
It's going to happen.
Habitat disruption, potential pollution, like the sheer amount of materials that they're going to need.
Right. All factors.
All factors.
They need careful consideration and mitigation.
It feels like for every potential benefit, there's like a corresponding challenge.
That's often the case, right?
Yeah.
With these really ambitious projects.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think, you know, the potential rewards are significant.
Yeah.
If they can pull this off.
Yeah.
If they can create a truly sustainable, innovative, thriving city in the desert.
Yeah.
It would be, I mean, it would be a monumental achievement.
It would completely redefine what's possible in urban development.
It would. And let's not forget about, like, the economic implications of this, too.
Right.
Neom aims to be, you know, this global hub.
Yeah, they want to be for tourism and technology and renewable energy. And each of those sectors comes with its own set of challenges and opportunities.
Absolutely.
So let's break those down a little bit.
Okay.
Starting with tourism.
Yeah.
Can they really compete with established destinations like Dubai?
It's a good question.
Especially given Saudi Arabia's reputation for strict social customs.
That's a valid question.
Yeah.
I think, you know, they're banking on attracting like a high-end luxury tourism market.
Okay.
With attractions like Sindala and Trojena. Yeah. Offering, you know, unique experiences that you can't find elsewhere.
Okay.
But I think to be successful, they're going to need to navigate this, like, very delicate balance between maintaining their own cultural identity and creating an environment that's going to be welcoming to international visitors.
So it's not just about building, like, fancy resorts. It's about fostering a cultural shift.
Exactly. Precisely.
Okay. And then there's the technology sector.
Yeah.
You know, they have aspirations to become, like, this global hub for innovation. Attracting tech giants, startups, top talent. But they're entering a very crowded field, right? Like, they're competing with, you know, established tech ecosystems like Silicon Valley, Shenzhen.
Exactly.
Well, what makes them think that they can stand out and attract the best and brightest?
I mean, I think they're betting on a combination of factors. One, significant financial incentives. 2, they have like a blank slate to build a city that's optimized for technology. And 3, I think the promise of being at the forefront of like a technological revolution. But whether they can actually deliver on that promise?
Remains to be seen.
And
then there's renewable energy, which seems to be like a central part of their narrative.
Very central,
They're investing heavily in solar and wind power. Even exploring hydrogen as a fuel source. But can they really transition from being like the world's largest oil producer to a leader in clean energy?
It's a bold ambition, right? I mean, they certainly have the resources and the geographic advantage to become a major player in renewables. But it requires like a fundamental shift in mindset and economic structure. They need to attract expertise. They need to foster innovation. And they need to create like a regulatory environment that's really going to support the growth of the clean energy sector.
So it's not just about building solar farms and wind turbines. It's about building an entire ecosystem.
It's about building the whole thing around clean energy.
And that brings us back to like the human element, right? Can they create a society that embraces sustainability, that attracts people who are passionate about building a better future?
I mean, that's the key ingredient that's often missing, right? From these big grand schemes.
It's the difference between a city that's simply technologically advanced and a city that's truly like thriving and vibrant.
Exactly. Precisely.
And that leads us to like the geopolitical implications of Neom, which are just as complex and far-reaching as the project itself.
Exactly.
How will this city, this like symbol of Saudi Arabia's ambitions, impact the region and the world?
That is where things get really interesting.
Let's delve into that. Okay, so we've unpacked like the vision, the challenges, the opportunities, but now we kind of need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. What are like the geopolitical implications of a project like this? How does this city, like rising from the sands of Saudi Arabia, impact the region and the world?
That's where it's really interesting, right? Because Neom isn't just a city. It's like a statement. It's a declaration of Saudi Arabia's ambitions.
So they're not content with just being the oil powerhouse anymore.
Exactly. They're really looking to diversify. Become a leader in technology, sustainability, global commerce. Neom is a bold step towards realizing those ambitions.
But won't this like shake things up in the Middle East?
Potentially,
I mean, Saudi Arabia is already like a major player. Now they're building this futuristic mega city. Other countries in the region must be watching this very closely.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it like a game of chess. You know, you have countries like the UAE and Qatar who are also trying to, you know, diversify their economies and establish themselves as like regional hubs. Neom throws a new piece into that game. Creates both opportunities and potential points of friction.
So it could lead to like increased competition?
It could.
Maybe even conflict?
It's a possibility. But it could also foster cooperation. I mean, Neom, with its focus on, you know, technology and innovation, could create like this ripple effect, inspiring other nations to invest in similar ventures.
Oh, interesting.
Which could lead to, you know, knowledge sharing, regional partnerships, even a collective push towards sustainability. It's too early to say which way it'll go.
Yeah.
But the stakes are high.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then there's like the impact on Saudi Arabia's relationship with the West, particularly the United States. They've been longtime allies, but things have been a bit rocky lately.
They have.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, the Biden administration's stance on human rights and climate change has definitely created some tension.
Yeah.
And Neom is going to be like a test of that relationship.
Okay.
Will Saudi Arabia address the environmental and social concerns raised by this project in a way that satisfies, their international partners?
Yeah.
Or will they prioritize their own agenda?
Yeah.
Potentially straining those alliances.
So it's like this delicate balancing act for them on the world stage.
It is.
They want to be seen as like this modern, forward-thinking nation.
Yeah.
But they also need to address, the legitimate concerns of the international community and like how they navigate these complexities is going to have significant consequences.
The huge consequences.
For their global standing. Right. It's a lot to consider.
It is, yeah.
A lot of moving pieces on this geopolitical chessboard.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So fascinating.
But that's what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Neom is more than just a city.
Right.
It's like a microcosm of all the challenges and opportunities facing the world in the 21st century.
Right.
It's about the shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy.
Yeah.
It's about the rise of automation and AI, the need for sustainable development, the quest for a more equitable future, all of that wrapped up.
Yeah, it's this grand experiment that like forces us to confront these big questions.
It really does.
Yeah.
And its impact is going to be felt far beyond the borders of Saudi Arabia.
It's a story that's still unfolding.
Still unfolding, yeah.
And one that, we're all going to be watching closely.
Very closely.
So as we reach the end of our deep dive into Neom, what are like the key takeaways for our listeners?
I think first and foremost, watch the money.
Okay.
Follow the investments, the partnerships, the economic indicators.
Yeah.
That'll tell you a lot about who's betting on Neom and how it's changing global markets.
Okay, makes sense. Follow the money trail. What else?
I think it's important to pay attention to the human stories.
Okay.
Who's moving to Neom?
Yeah.
Who's working there?
Right.
Who's benefiting and who's being left behind?
Right.
Those stories will reveal the true impact of this project on people's lives.
Yeah, the human element is crucial. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think keep an eye on the geopolitical dynamics.
Okay.
How is Neom affecting Saudi Arabia's relationships with its neighbors and the rest of the world?
Yeah.
How is it shaping the balance of power in the Middle East?
Those are the big questions that are really going to shape the future of this region.
They are.
And perhaps even the world.
Exactly.
Well, and as always, we'll be here.
We will be here.
Diving deep into those questions.
We'll keep diving.
Providing insights.
And analysis, helping you navigate this complex and rapidly changing world.
It is, that's for sure. That's what we do here on The Deep Dive.
That's what we do.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Thanks for listening.